Mackenzie Johnston with Tri-State Livestock News discussing issues currently facing the cattle industry and how to find common ground and real solutions so fair cattle markets can be achieved. Today we have the opportunity to speak with Leo McDonnell of Columbus, Montana. Leo, can you tell me a little bit about your background within the cattle industry and where you're located?
Okay, I'm at Columbus, Montana, and we ranch in Montana and North Dakota, and we also have a feedlot and Midland Bull Test, which is a large performance test. We feed 2,000 to 3,000 bulls a year and have 3 or 4 different sales through the year.
Okay.
So we work with a lot of genetic stuff. Right now, we're the largest private ranch or seed stock operation to measure feed intake on cattle as we try and genetically select cattle to be more efficient, both on grass and feedlot. We've been doing that for 12 years. We do about, over a couple thousand bulls a year, close to 2,000 bulls a year.
What do you feel are the major issues standing in the way of fair cattle markets today?
Right now, today, I have to say, having these packing plants partly shut down,
Right.
And the effects of the pandemic on us, but maybe something a little longer term and going back before the pandemic, certainly we have a concentration problem at our packing plants, and we felt that in our markets very much so since late 2015, as we've seen the spread between box beef prices and live cattle prices really inflate, and so we've lost a lot of equity in the industry from that. I think, concentration, I think, I wouldn't quite know how to express it, but the culture of some of these organizations and some of our political leaders and bureaucrats to move this industry into a more standardized production and marketing system. Loss of our cash markets, obviously one. And under those, there's several things that lead into it without going into all that.
Yeah.
But, right now, it's the value we're getting for our cattle compared to what it's selling for. And that increasing margin between cattle producers and packers or cattle producers and all retail. It's really accelerated in late 2015.
You said that we've been facing some significant packer concentration since 2015. Why do you think it took this pandemic to realize what we were facing? Because clearly there was quite a bit of spread in between what retailers were getting for beef in the grocery stores and restaurants versus what cattle producers were getting for their cattle. So we've slowly been seeing this coming on, but why do you think we waited till now, till it got incredibly extreme to fix these issues?
To get more of the industry involved, you mean?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
People I can tell things are really in people's face, and it's on their lap. They don't want to address things. This industry is not real good at looking out on the horizon, getting ahead of of these problems. But in all fairness, Mackenzie, the efforts for like 50-14 or 30-14 or the efforts by the industry to address these problems, actually started last summer after the packing plant fire in Kansas, and we saw what the packers did with their gouging. We accelerated interest, but, we had a large meeting in Billings, Montana that was kind of put on by Jeff Peterson and I think Joe Goggin was involved, along with other people, Corporate Wall and whatnot. But we had people from all across the United States come in for that meeting as we started looking at, what we need to do.
So obviously, as you know, there was a bill brought forward to pass this 50-14 negotiated cash trade mandate. What are your thoughts on that, and what do you think the probability is of that getting passed?
Well, obviously, I was working with these folks on it, so,
yeah.
It's something we need. We've got a real thinning cash market, as you're aware, and it does give the cattle feeder a little more leverage when these people actually have to come to the table to buy their cattle. Some weeks, some of these guys don't buy any cattle.
Right.
Some weeks they do, but it's always pretty thin.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is an effort to improve our market, to the cattle producers more leverage, to make the packers actually compete for our feeder and the packer, they're margin operators. And unfortunately, there's especially some of those southern feeders, they're plumb happy the way things are. They got the sweetheart deals, their formulas, or the forward contracts with the birds. And, as a margin operator, you always want to buy things cheaper because you have less money on the table, less risk. And it's been interesting to see some of these folks realize that they've been hurting themselves and come in and support this 50-14. But at the end of the day, the 50-14 rule is more about the cow-calf producer. Getting the price of cattle up so the price of our calves come up. And ranchers need to realize that. The only way you're going to do that is to have equal leverage by the buyer and the seller. And it takes competition to do that. So we're just trying to level the playing field here. And it's just really been neat to see all the state organizations get behind this, some of the formula lots. So that part's been good. Yeah. Where's it going to go in Congress, in the Senate? We're definitely going to make it through the Ag Committee okay. I think everybody knows that.
Right.
When we get on the Senate floor, there's going to be a lot of lobbying by the packer groups, AMI. There'll be a lot of lobbying by our southern feeders in Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. And NCBA has come out in opposition to this. And so, there's a lot of work to be done. None of them have come up with a better solution. And one thing this pandemic has given us is the opportunity to elevate some of these problems that we've had in this industry the last 4 or 5 years. So hopefully we can get something done.
Yeah.
If we can get something like this passed, who knows what can happen down the road. But at least it's brought a spotlight to the issue, some of the things factors have been doing.
There's a lot of talk right now concerning cow herd numbers here in America and how they directly affect the markets. Where do you think we stand right now when it comes to our cow herd numbers, and how do you see that affecting the cattle markets going forward?
Well, if you'd asked me that last fall or last winter before the pandemic, I would say, we're sitting really good. No doubt our cow numbers were dropping. I actually think our feeder calf numbers weren't as high as they said it was last fall, and I was hoping that would show up by this summer. But definitely our cow numbers are dropping, so that's good. Whether we have enough leverage at the end of the day, though, to get a fair price on these cattle, that's the question. But long term, we've got a lot of issues facing us today, Mackenzie, with these packing plants partially shut down. Already we've backed up probably, 700,000 to 1 million back cattle. Got to get our way through all that. We've got some things going on, and we always talk about the packing plants. And you can't leave these cow plants out either. They've probably been gouging us since 16 harder than the beef plants. But these cows are cheap enough now that people are looking at some of these younger cows instead of killing them. They're thinking about rebreeding them, and what's that going to do with our numbers? We've got people that we're going to sell heifers this spring that haven't because the market wasn't there. So whether they spay them and run them from yearlings, certainly there'll be a few more bred than normally would have been bred. So we're just going to have to see how all this plays out as we go along. But, one of the big things we need to do is get these packing plants back rolling to where they're killing, 650,000 head cattle a week.
You raise bulls, and obviously you're there with Midland Bull Test. What are your thoughts on how these issues currently affecting the cattle markets? How is that affecting the seed stock business?
I haven't seen a real impact on it yet. We just wrapped up a sale in Bowman here about 10 days ago in North Dakota, and it was very good. And we sold a lot of bulls, private trees. There early on when this thing first started in March, we felt it at one of our sales at Midland on our Angus sale day, and it was just a factor of a lot of bulls. And at that time, people were pretty spooked, and we only had about 60, 80 people here for our Angus sale, and normally we'll feed 11 to 1,200 for lunch. It had a short-term impact, but overall, I think I know the bull thing, the seed stock people haven't been affected by this. Now, this thing carries on, and they put a lot of pressure on the calves this summer and next fall, then, it's going to have an impact. People only have so much money to spend, and you might see people taking more bulls over or just spending less on bulls. These bull prices have been a little ridiculously high anyway, in my mind, even though it's our business.
I, and I'm sure many others, have read a few of your articles regarding your analysis of the effects of imports, and particularly what happened during the time when COOL was implemented. Can you elaborate on imports during the time that COOL was in place?
Did it affect imports? Well, just go back and pull up the USDA cattle numbers for Mexico and Canada, and you can pull up the Canadians number right off their own. They have a deal like cattle packs up there. You can pull it off theirs. And what we found was during the cool years, Mexican and ranchers and Canadian ranchers and feeders received record prices for their cattle. We also saw, which I really found interesting, was that there was 2 or 3 years in that 5-year period or 6 to 7-year period of cool where we actually took record amounts of cattle and beef from both Canada and Mexico, and I mean record amounts based on their cow herd as a percentage of their cow herd. So for anybody to say that it was protectionist or it was designed to slow down imports, the reality is, as we look at the production from Canada and Mexico based on their cow herd numbers, we were actually taking record levels at record prices. And the Canadian and Mexican ranchers were enjoying it as much as we were. I don't know how to make it any simpler than that. I laugh a little bit because, we're sitting here in the United States of America, supposed to be one of the great competition arenas in the world, and we sit here with what we're told is the highest valued, highest quality, or the highest quality beef product produced anywhere in the world, but we're not going to label it. We're not going to identify it. That's just a formula for failure in any other business that invests as much as we do in our product.
Yeah.
And, we buy into the generalized, silly statements that propagandists and people that are opposed to cool. And why we do, I don't know. Because we all know competition's good. We all know that the more choices consumers have, the more they'll buy of that product. Cereals have proved that time and time again. And so increasing choices to consumers increases consumption, increases demand. I don't know how much you want me to pound on this drum. The other thing that really bothers me is, we've gathered close to $2 billion from cattle producers for our checkoff to promote and market beef. You don't want to identify it. It's silly. And I understand, because I used to be on the CBD board, that under the acting order, you can't label U.S. beef, but that's simple to change. All you need to do is open the books back up and go in there. And I'd like to see the elected official that would vote against taxing you to promote your product and then stopping you from identifying it. But you never know.
Right. So you just mentioned the checkoff. Do you feel that producers' checkoff dollars are doing the most they can for them?
It's always a great idea to promote and market your product. When the checkoff was started, we had a real strong correlation between retail prices and cattle prices. So anything that we could do by throwing a little more money in the pot to promote beef and increase the price of beef had a pretty good relationship to cattle prices. I'm not a great government program kind of guy. I happen to think if you have a really competitive industry, that generally business people are going to get more done than government programs. But at the end of the day, they've done a great job. The dollars that have been spent on the export market and the results have been tremendous. That's a great team of people in USMEF. Downside is, you don't have the industry support for the checkoff that we should. I blame that on the fact that our beef checkoff, and it's about the only one like it, contracts with these policy groups. And no doubt, a good share of the wages of the upper tier folks, like at NCBA, their CEO, I think when I was on the beef board, 2/3 of his wages is paid for with the checkoff. And then one day they're working for the checkoff, the next day they're sitting there lobbying against ranchers. And a lot of times making derogatory remarks towards the very people that are funding them. That's not the way you do business. You don't contract with people that are trying to injure your business. Right. And given the choice, I tell you what, it's a sad thing. A lot of people wouldn't send that dollar in just for that reason. And it's not because they don't like the checkoff. They don't like funding NCBA through it. And that's a natural response for business people to do. I mean, you're not going to support somebody that's lobbying against you. So that's too bad it's that way. The pork industry went through that in the late 90s. Hog producers actually voted the checkoff out. They found out that the Secretary of USDA had the discretion whether to accept that vote or not. The Secretary didn't
There's been a big push by a group of senators, and then also President Trump has asked the Department of Justice to investigate our meatpacking industry. What do you think is going to come of this investigation, and do you think this investigation is actually going to happen by the DOJ?
Of course, we've had a couple different senators' letters. We had, 23, 24 state cattle organizations also send a letter to DOJ and some other things. But, I'm glad to see it get out of USDA into the Department of Justice, because USDA is very much into status quo, and they've been that way a long time. There was a GAO investigation against DOJ back in the early 2000s. They found out that their competition models, economic models, were outdated and couldn't predict the impact of concentration on the market. I think at that time they found out even in PNS there were no antitrust attorneys. That's pretty hard to believe, isn't it? Then later on we found that the head of PNS, I think her name was, I believe it was Joanne Waterfield, had falsely testified to the Senate, that they had 1,000 complaints and they looked into them, and in fact hadn't looked into any. She was then asked to leave. They were going to bring criminal charges against her, and they dropped those. But, USDA has not been a friend of competitive markets.
Right.
And USDers, they're a little bit like NCBA. They fought us on the trade cases for damaging trade practices from Canada and Mexico. They fought us on country of origin labeling. They fought us every nick and turn on enforcing the packers and stockyards. Outside of one gentleman from Mississippi that was in there for a couple of years. They're just bureaucrats, and God bless them all. It's not their living, and they don't like to make waves. And USDA is also a little bit of a revolving door for people coming in and moving up the ladder, whether it's political ladder or whether moving into some of these larger corporations for a job. So I'm glad to see it in the Department of Justice. What I'd really like to see now, and what we talked about back in early March, I think in March 13th, the President declared a state of emergency. That week, we also saw box beef prices go up 30%, cash cattle prices go up 10 to 15%. But I'd really like to see a class action suit against the packers for price gouging, because there's no doubt during this pandemic, and really no doubt after the fire in Kansas, that there was tremendous price gouging going on. So we'll see what all this brings forth, but I sure wouldn't back off what they've done to us. I'd go after them.
So, since the past 2 months have been incredibly hard on cattle producers across the board, how are you seeing these tough cattle markets affect your local area?
We're up here in Montana and the Dakotas. We really haven't seen a whole lot of that yet. Obviously, it's affected our cull cow market. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of feeder market going on this time of year. I think, this summer and next fall, if they don't do something, and the president, and I'd like to talk about that in a bit, that they can do something, but if they don't do anything on an emergency state, we're going to start feeling it this summer and next fall, without a doubt. And it'll be felt on Main Street, and not just the small towns, but in towns like Billings and Rapid City and Bismarck. Because ranchers are great spenders when they make money on their cattle, because we're all behind on keeping stuff updated. We all invest back in our businesses. But if you take that cash away from them, especially with the uncertainty of markets that don't react to fundamentals anymore, they're going to be very lean.
In one sentence, what does the cattle industry need most right now?
The President of the United States, under his state of emergency authority, should come out and require that these packers, and I'm talking cow plants too, pay a minimum price based on a percentage of box beef, whether it's choice, select, cow beef, or whatever. And that would really change things. And that may be where we need to go anyway if they don't break up these packing plants and can't fix the problems. They may need to have to go something like that, like they've done with electricity at times. Mm-hmm. We all hate government regulated our markets. It's kind of like, do you want to work for JBS or do you want to work for the government? Or do you want the government, JBS controlling the markets, or do you want the government? Well, I'm not too happy about JBS controlling it. So if they can't break it up, you're going to need to do that. But right now, today, the President has the power and authority during these price gouging periods to require that a minimum percent of box beef, of what the box beef price is, be paid in the cash market. And if you want to solve a lot of problems, that's what you'll do. Otherwise, you're putting all this gouging that's been going on the backs of the taxpayers and ranchers and the I mean, we were going to bring a class action. We were told to back off because the state attorneys were going to bring one. Well, the state attorneys haven't brought one yet. And I keep waiting for them to do what they said they were going to do, but it hasn't happened. But there's no doubt early on in this pandemic, you had a clear, cut and dry gouging case against those guys. And that's why we have courts. That's part of our system in this country, part of our checks and balances.
In 2017, you submitted an article to Tri-State Livestock News regarding current issues facing the cattle industry. In that article, you mentioned the threat of vertical integration. What is your thoughts on the threat of vertical integration within our cattle industry today?
Well, we're really close. I said since the late 90s, early 2000s, I mean, we saw what they did to the hog industry in December of 98. All you got to do is break the feeders and make contracts out of them to vertically integrate this industry. And they're right there now today. And you had some other guys early on, 20 years ago, sell us out early and went to be contractors, 2 different kind of formula or forward contract agreements. But, if you're sitting there at the feeder and this thing eating your lunch and the banker's not going to go with you, and the only way you probably will is if you can actually be a contractor where you're guaranteed so much per head for producing it, just like a poultry or a hog producer. You do that, you're really going to change this industry and the cow-calf guy. And, maybe it's good. I don't think so. I don't think it's what the country was founded on. I'll guarantee you what, you're going to shorten up the cattle supply quite a bit, because anywhere where people can get away from subsidizing the Tysons and the Cargills and the JBSs in the market, they're going to quit raising cattle if they can find something else to do, because I don't want to subsidize them anymore.
So you've been asked to speak in front of Congress numerous times at various congressional hearings. Can you tell me about those experiences, and then was it productive?
Well, it's always productive to share your side of the story or share your industry with people, especially elected officials or agencies. So that's always good, and people need to do that. Everybody always treats you nice, even if they don't agree with you. And, I think the last one, I did several on the cattle industry over the years. I did a couple on country boards in labeling. I actually was the only cattle producer to testify at the U.S. Senate Trade Deficit Commission review. That was a review that was set up in the early 2000s to study all the industries. I flew down to the Federal Reserve Building in Kansas City to testify there. They had 8 Democrat appointees and I think 8 Republican appointees, and all pretty powerful people. So that was a great experience. The last one I did was on country boards and labeling in summer 2015 when they were repealing it, and that was the Senate ag hearing. And if I remember right, there were 6 or 7 opponents to it, and I was the only proponent for MCOOL. So you do get into those weighted deals once in a while where you're pretty well outnumbered, but I actually had probably as much fun with that one because they were all pretty much using stuff that wasn't true, and it was easy to correct them in a nice way.
Do you have any closing statements you'd like to make?
This 50-14 thing, no doubt, will be good for a while. I don't know for how long, if they do get it through. But we're constantly pounding on the government, and the government's there, without a doubt, to enforce the rules. They're kind of the referee, right?
Yeah.
You all got to play by a certain set of rules, and those rules are based on the values that this country was founded on and some of those institutions. I get that. But at the same time, I also think sometimes don't wait for the government, folks, because, there's other things you can do. You look at micro here, okay? Micro brews, when they first started up, people kind of were giggling and laughing and going, oh, this is nice, it's just a wave, it's not going to last long. Well, guess what? 2 years ago, microbrews were 25% of the beer market, but more importantly, they got 50% of the beer dollar. And they're here to stay. People love it. They love all the choices, the variety that comes with it. So maybe start thinking about micro beefs, and whether that's what we see some people do in marketing direct, or just whatever you're doing. But I do think the packers have got so greedy that they've opened a tremendous door for opportunity. And there's opportunity to go out there and build some of your plants. I get it, it's expensive. I get that it takes a lot of money. But I think if you're going to do that, you also need to do some things on the government side. Some assistance, maybe assistance in they pay for the the USDA inspectors, because that is a little unfair that these small plants that maybe kill anywhere from 15 to 20 a day to 100 a day have to pay for a USDA inspector. Their costs per animal are much higher than those large plants. So find some incentive things like that. Make sure that you've got the backing from DOJ, that we don't have predatory practices going on by the big packers like we saw in the 90s. I think in 96, IDP took credit for taking 26 other packers out of business with predatory pricing. That is, they were undercutting them. Mm-hmm. They were selling below cost of production, and they called it short-term losses for long-term gains. That is, get rid of your competition, then you can come back and jack it to the consumer at a higher rate anyway, make more money. So go in there and find some things regulatory to create some incentives to get these smaller plants rolling. Control your own destiny, you know. There's some things there that you need to look at from an industry standpoint instead of just the government. Anyway, there's some opportunity there, Mackenzie, and a tremendous opportunity, and we're proving it across the United States today. The other thing, I think they need to give these state packing plants the same opportunities they give foreign packing plants. Right now, when you open up I'm going to use Uruguay for an example. When they opened up Uruguay here several years ago, you can go in and read the rulemaking on it. Obviously, the USDA goes down there, they approve certain plants, and if they're approved, then those plants can ship to the U.S., just like China does. They come in and approve our plants, and we can ship to China or Japan or wherever. But here's the kicker. There is no, regardless of what some of these people are saying, there is, at that time anyway, there's no USDA inspectors there every day looking at all the cattle, all the product. They just have to comply with the same standards as we have here. And then, twice a year, USDA can go down and inspect them if they give them a week's notice. Now, that's the rule they had several years ago. I doubt it's changed. And the other thing on the imported product, and I doubt if this has changed, and we found this out during the trade cases, is that at that time only 1 to 2% of the beef was actually being inspected coming out from Canada, and the inspectors had to give the Canadian plants notice which trucks would be inspected, and then they could only inspect the back third of that compartment for that. You know, they don't allow state plants to do any of that. But we need to give the people that built this country the same opportunities that we're giving these foreign people and plants. And so there's a lot of neat things that we could do to take control back of our industry. Don't miss those opportunities. It's a good time right now. There's a lot of light shining in our industry. That's always a good time to make some things happen. Do your short-term and long-term planning, and do what you can to control your own destiny. And if that means pulling up your pants a little tighter and getting out there and partnering with some people to do a cow kill plant, maybe that's also going to do some branded programs. Those opportunities are there, but you're going to need some government raise to protect you from these international packing plants that are operating in the U.S. today. That opportunity is there. You know, that's what times like this bring, is opportunities that you can look for. I can't remember how long it's been. It's probably since the trade cases in the late 90s that we have had this much industry, this many state groups and producers all working on the same issue, and that is trying to get a good market back for cattle. That hasn't happened. First time we've had this many elected officials since the late 90s looking at our industry. Take advantage of that. This corona thing's been tough. It's been tough on a lot of people, but there's some huge opportunities today if people will just get along